What's up, y'all? All right, it's story time. So, deep in the heart of the North Carolina woods, there was this ancient forest. Now, its trees was gnarled and twisted. The branches was like skeletal fingers. It was all kinds of mess. Now, see, the locals whispered that these trees were not mere plants, but they were watchers, sentinels of the unseen. Okay, so Elena, a young, curious woman, she was she often let her curiosity override her good judgment. And she had long been fascinated by these tales. So one misty evening, she ventured off into the forest, guided by the pale light of the waning moon. The air was thick with this scent of moss and decay. It was a strange hush that enveloped her as she entered the woods. But she stayed nonetheless, but she felt like the forest was kind of holding its breath. As she walked deeper, she noticed peculiar carvings on the tree trunks, and there was intricate designs and symbols that she recognized from her grandmother's old books. We're just going to call it a hoodoo grimoire, okay? There were words, protective symbols, and glyphs that were meant to keep spirits at bay. Now, Elena's heart raced as she realized she was in a place of immense power and she found something of her grandmother's. She soon came upon a clearing where an old dilapidated cabin stood. Now the air around that cabin, it felt alive and it was charged with energy. But hanging from them trees were some small dolls made of twigs and cloth. Now their eyes was made from black stones that seemed to follow her every move. So in the center of the clearing was an ancient oak tree, its trunk bearing the largest, most complex hoodoo symbol you could ever imagine. She approached it, she was drawn by it, and she just felt like it was a force pulling her in. She went and touched the bark of the symbol, and it glowed faintly, and whispers started filling the air, and she could hear that it was voices trapped in the woods. You should not be here, the voices said, but it was multiple voices, and it was like they were in unison. We watch, we wait, and we guard. That's what they said. Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet began to tremble, and the roots of the trees surged upwards, wrapping around her ankles. Panic set in as she struggled, but the forest held her fast. The black stone eyes of the dolls, they started glimmering with a sinister light, and Elena felt the presence of something ancient, but she also felt the presence of something malevolent. It was a slight difference. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness. When she looked up, it was her grandmother's spirit. But the grandmother's spirit had been bound to that place by an ancient curse. Elena, she whispered, her voice both a plea and a warning. You must leave. The watchers do not forgive. They do not forget. So Elena looked puzzled. So long ago, Elena's grandmother, Maribelle, had been the revered Hoodoo priestess of that time in that region. Now, her grimoire book was filled with powerful spells and protective words, and it was a source of strength for all those enslaved people that she was enslaved with on the plantation. But the plantation owners found out about it, got greedy and fearful of her power, and devised a plan. So they stole her grimoire using its magic against her. They bound Maribel's spirit to the forest, believing they could harness her power and keep her bound and keep her magic bound and under control in that forest. Maribel's spirit, though, it lingered, watching helplessly as the owners attempted to use her spells to protect their own lineage and their fortunes. However, they underestimated the deep roots that Maribel had with that land and the connection that she had made with that land. And not only that, her understanding of the ancient forces that dwelled within it, of all the elements. Years later, Elena, Maribel's granddaughter, discovered the true history of her grandmother's grimoire. With determination, she sought out to reverse the curse and restore her grandmother's legacy. Using the knowledge she passed down to her, Elena performed a powerful ritual under the light of a blood moon. She called upon the spirits of the forest, invoking their ancient wrath. See, we thought she was just being messy in the beginning. Now, see, the watchers, the trees themselves, stirred from their slumber. Their branches crackled with newfound energy, and their stone eyes glowed with a vengeful light. The once passive guardians became fierce protectors of Maribel's spirit and her lineage. Now, see, the transformation was swift and terrifying. The children of the plantation owners who had still lived in the comfort on that plantation and was ignorant to what their ancestors had did, they became the targets of the Watchers' retribution. One by one, they were lured into the forest by the unseen forces, their laughter and play turning into screams as the trees closed in around them. The forest swallowed them whole, their fates sealed by their ancestors, and they were absorbed into the very woods their forebears had sought to control, and bound Maribelle too. Now, Elena watched as the Watchers exacted their revenge. Though it pained her to see the innocent suffer for the sins of their fathers, she did understand the necessity of balancing the scales of justice. The grimoire was returned to its rightful place, and the forest once more stood as a guardian of ancient secrets and powerful magic. But Maribel's spirit remained bound, a reminder of the past lingering shadows. As Elena touched the ancient oak, her grandmother's voice echoed and whispered one final time, "You have done well, my child. The Watchers are now our companions, but their vigilance is eternal. Leave this place and let the past rest." And with that, Elena went on and lived a great life. Now, word of Maribel's powerful spirit and avenging Watcher spread far and wide. People from all over the world, drawn by the tales of her strength and justice, began to visit the ancient forest. They came bearing stories of their own grievances, their own desires for justice. And each visitor approached the ancient oak, marking it with a symbol from Maribel's grimoire, hoping to invoke her spirit. These symbols, etched with reverence and hope, infused the tree with more power. Each mark was a plea for Maribel's assistance in righting wrongs, for her spirit to conquer, and to seek revenge where justice was needed. The Watchers were ever vigilant, absorbed this energy, their connection to Maribelle and her descendants, and their cause was ever growing. It was just getting stronger and stronger with each new symbol and each new person who gave energy into that. The forest became a sanctuary for the oppressed, a place where the spirits of the wrong could find solace and strength. And in the quiet rustling of the leaves, visitors could hear Maribel's spirit whispering back, promising aid and vengeance to those who invoked her name. Elena nodded, stepping back into the shadows, knowing that the Watchers would be forever a guard and a companion, and hold the secrets of the forest and their legacy of her grandmother, her descendants, and would never be forgotten. Y'all have a good night.